Welcome back to Raised by Giants live special broadcast. Welcome everyone in the chat. Good to see you guys and any channel members and moderators out there. Thank you for joining us for this live special broadcast. And wow, do we have a doozy for you guys here today? And Rob Oz, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Marissa, good to see you, Marissa. I was scrolling through Twitter late last night, and I stumbled across this brand new New York Post article, and I instantly got really happy because everything in this article I have been saying and talking about for years. For years. It didn't really seem like anybody was listening. Like, yeah, there were, of course, the people on the channel were listening, but it didn't really catch on that much. In fact, I got a lot of hate for it. You know, I got called a disinformationalist, a misinformationalist, a government agent, someone that's trying to cover up the truth. I mean, it got to the point where I was on Leak Project with Rex Bear, and the comments were so horrendous that Rex, I believe he just took down the entire show. And I've been on several other people's shows talking about this. I was on Tinfoil Hat talking about it. I just did a show the other day recently talking about it. So this New York Post article is very validating and vindicating for me because everything that's talked about in here, I have been trying to tell people about. So let's get into this bad boy. Okay, so this is the article. Bombshell. Pentagon created fake UFO evidence, promoted false alien stories. June 11th, 2025, 12 p.m. So this was yesterday. Over the last 7 years, you've probably seen news headlines about multiple UFO whistleblowers who have come forward to claim the U.S. government is hiding the existence of alien technology. Inspired by these claims, in 2022, the United States Congress mandated the creation of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is AARO. AARO was asked to look into these claims, and they were given top secret authorities they needed to look everywhere. In 2024, AARO released a detailed report in which they concluded that there were no aliens, no alien technology, and no alien bodies. And we covered this report on the show around a year ago whenever it came out. Me and Ryan Gable did an entire show on the AARO report that covered all of these cases spanning back to 1947 and the Roswell incident and the Kenneth Arnold incident. But what the public hasn't really heard yet is that when AARO went looking for the original source of these false stories about the government hiding aliens, they discovered that in many instances, the source was the government itself. This is what I was trying to tell you guys. I was trying to tell everybody, when you just do a little bit of research on where these stories come from and where they develop from, you'll see that they all came from Air Force AFOSI, Office of Special Investigations, and the NSA, starting with the Paul Benowitz case in 1979. I've covered Paul Benowitz extensively on this channel. In fact, I have an entire episode that's just dedicated to the Paul Benowitz story. It's a playlist on my channel. Just go to my main channel and hit playlists, and it says Legends of Ufology. I have 4 videos in there. I have one with the Kenneth Arnold story, which we figure out that Kenneth Arnold never said that he saw saucer-like craft. He said that the saucers flew like a saucer skipping across water, but then the media just ran with the shape of the craft was a saucer shape. So we've had the shape of the craft that people have been seeing wrong this entire time. Okay, the whole shape of the craft has been a giant misnomer from the very beginning. But anyway, there's 4 videos on that Legends of Ufology playlist. One is Kenneth Arnold, the next one is Paul Benowitz, the third one is Whitley Strieber, and the fourth one is William Moore, which we're going to get into here a little bit later. We interviewed Tim Phillips, a senior 45-year-old veteran of military and government service. He was the deputy director and at one point the acting of AARO. He was at the tip of the spear for AARO's investigation. He says AARO tracked down every witness, every clue, and discovered that the U.S. government was sometimes the source, creator, and promoter of false UFO stories, which they used to cover up their real human made top secret technology. That has been the name of the game since the inception of this. Okay, because if they can get everybody believing that this is aliens, this is all alien craft, then it takes the heat off of them for ever disclosing that it's all military technology. I got so much crap for that. Everyone, no, this can't be real. You're a disinformationalist, a misinformation. Well, I'm proven right. I'm proven right, just like I was proven right with Tupac being gay. Everyone's no, Tupac wasn't gay. Tupac was a thug, thug rapper. He wasn't gay. And then all of a sudden, Candace Owens does a big expose on Tupac, and now everyone thinks and believes that he was gay. Okay, so this is how this stuff works, guys. Like the truth, the real hardcore truth is what nobody wants to believe until it becomes accepted that it's real, until we get these New York Post articles, which is interviewing. There's a video here that we're actually going to listen to of it, but I'm a little bit afraid to play it because there's some music in it, and I don't know if the music is copywritten or whatever, but we're going to attempt to listen to it here in a few minutes. But this is the way this stuff works. And with the Paul Benowitz case in 79, he lived right outside of Kirkland Air Force Base, and he was filming what he believed were extraterrestrial craft, which it turned out that they were just top secret military craft. They were doing experiments at Kirkland Air Force Base in New Mexico. And he was filming them outside of his back door. So then he went to the military, and the military was like, oh, this is interesting stuff you got, Paul Benowitz. What do you want us to do about it? And then he said, oh, well, I would like a grant to continue my research into these extraterrestrials and to continue filming them and continue my communication with extraterrestrials, which he claimed that he was communicating with the extraterrestrials through his computer. This kind of caught the Air Force off guard. They got him in touch with Richard Doty. Richard Doty went to his house and realized that the NSA had broken into Paul Benowitz's house, replaced his computer with an NSA modified computer to make him believe that he is in communication with extraterrestrials, and everything that the supposed aliens, which were really the NSA talking with Paul Benowitz, has been regurgitated and believed within this community and is still a part of the community to this very day. And that information, all that disinformation and misinformation and made up fabrication and lies about extraterrestrials then got pushed out to the community through Paul Benowitz, which was all mis and disinformation from the NSA, made up fake stories. Okay, so, and that included that aliens had a contract with extraterrestrials, that aliens were in communication with the government, and that they had a contract to build a underground military base, which was a conjoined effort between the extraterrestrials and the U.S. government. And then later on, that evolved into Eisenhower. Whenever Bill Cooper talked with Paul Benowitz and got his information from Paul Benowitz, Bill Cooper then turned that contract for a military base, which was a contract that was supposedly signed by Eisenhower, which is all made up, that the aliens are here for our resources. And then while the NSA is communicating with Paul Benowitz, they're like, Paul, you're the only person that has any of this information. You got to keep your mouth shut. And Paul, being, working as an engineer for the Air Force during World War II as a radio technicians officer, he believed them. He's like, I got to do my duty to protect the United States government and not tell anybody about this. Okay, so then it just becomes shrouded in mystery. And then it got so bad for Paul. And there's a lot of other things of this story, but if you want the full detailed breakdown, just if you haven't listened to it, just go to my channel, hit playlist, and go to Legends of Ufology playlist and click on the Paul Benowitz. I did a complete breakdown. I even had Richard Doty on the show to talk about this around a year ago. Okay, so once you realize that all of the stories and all of the mythology surrounding ufology came directly from our government in order to cover up advanced military technology, then you really understand what's going on. And that's what I've been trying to tell people. And finally, I'm so happy, I'm ecstatic that this article came out. And they're finally admitting that the whole thing is a put up job as a cover story for advanced military experimental technology. And they've used the excuse that it's aliens to continue to do it over and over and over and over again. And then the whole thing got so out of hand that they realized that there was no putting the lid, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle on this thing. And that's another reason why that they kind of went hardcore into the alien narrative. That's why they had Dave Grush up there talking about alien bodies and non-biological entities coming along with these craft and stuff. So when this comes out, people still don't believe it. It's a multiple layered game here. It's a multiple layered psychological program steeped in confusion. Okay, so people no longer know what to believe. Are the aliens real? Or are the aliens not real? Okay, well, if we put out information that the aliens are real, we'll have these bozos go up in front of Congress, recirculating all of these nonsensical made up stories that we created to get people to believe in extraterrestrials as a cover story for our advanced military craft. So then whenever we come out and say, oh, well, guess what? It actually is advanced military craft, and we use this as a cover story to so that other countries weren't aware that this was our technology, then people won't believe it. It's a multiple layered psychological operation, and it works both ways. So let's try and get into some of this video. I want to be stopping on it periodically so that in case there is any kind of copyright stuff on it, it won't get dinged. And I'm going to put up the fair use banner. Fair Use Act disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. And that is what we are going to be doing here today, is educating the public on this New York Post video with the director of AARO and Mick West that is running the video, which I really like Miss West's work. Tim Phillips is his name. So, and this is covered under fair use because we are educating the public. Here we go.
think this has gone public yet, but those technologies and amazing capabilities were designed by Americans and built, manufactured, and flown by Americans. Some of these things we have, my God, they look like Klingon death ships.
Some of these things that we have look like Klingon death ships. Okay, so he's admitting that the military has very advanced technology, very advanced flight capabilities, far more advanced than what the public is aware of. Right there in the opening statement.
Absolutely amazing. There was a lot of misbehavior by our government. We built these UFO cover stories to protect what we were really doing.
Just so I get it and I comprehend this.
Sure.
There was a fake program that was a flying saucer alien program.
Yeah, there was a false special access program. It wasn't real.
And you're saying that sums up what these whistleblowers have actually seen.
Exactly.
Ooh, baby, baby, baby. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Over the last 7 years, you've probably seen news headlines about multiple UFO whistleblowers who have come forward to claim that the US government is hiding the existence of aliens and
Yeah, that's what we've seen over and over and over again. We've seen the circular reporting that is based off of fake, made up mis and disinformation given to us directly by the government.
alien technology. My previous reporting investigated some of these UFO whistleblowers and activists who want the government to spend taxpayer resources on their paranormal claims. Some of them testified under oath before Congress that there is a real cover-up of secret government programs involving real aliens and alien technology. Mystified by these claims, in 2022, congressional leaders like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and then Senator Marco Rubio mandated by law the creation of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. AARO was asked to look into the claims of these whistleblowers and to find if these aliens actually exist. But you can't just walk into Area 51, for example, and start looking around in the basement. Not just
Yeah, that was the whole problem with this entire thing was that Dave Grush was like, oh, well, we can't tell. I can only tell you in a skiff. I can only tell you where the aliens are if you have the appropriate access to know that information. We can't tell you where they are because if we do, then then I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to have repercussions for telling you where the aliens are. Okay, so unbelievable.
anyone can do that. You need special top secret authorities and permissions controlled by Congress and the Office of the President of the United States. So AARO was given Title 10 and Title 50 authorities, which, in layman's terms, means they had the keys to the entire top secret kingdom. But who was Congress going to give the keys to? It needed to be individuals with impeccable resumes, impressive experience, and reputations for being trustworthy and reliable. The keys went to Sean Kirkpatrick, a Pentagon scientist, and Tim Phillips, a 40-year veteran of military and intelligence operations.
Which we read that entire AARO report, the history of UFOs from AARO on the show around roughly around a year ago with Ryan Gable. And basically the summary of the report was that they were misidentified crafts that people were seeing, drones or advanced military technology was their explanation. And everyone freaked out. Oh my God, this can't be true. They're covering it up. AARO's covering it up. It's another giant cover-up. The cover-up is the cover-up.
Kirkpatrick and Phillips brought in a team of over 40 trusted people. AARO then interviewed the UFO whistleblowers and other military witnesses in a classified setting to get their full stories. With Kirkpatrick and Phillips at the tip of the spear, they went out and tracked down the source of each and every one of these claims about the government hiding aliens. In March 2024, AARO released an unclassified report of their findings to the public after talking to everyone and
Yeah, I think he's going to get into the conclusion here. Dana D, that's a really good question. But if you just look at the history of the UFO phenomenon, it seems as if it's just human technology that we figured it out and then we just made it top secret. Like Walter Bosley talking about the Sonora Aero Club in the late 1800s in Northern California. They were creating these types of crafts. We've had this technology for a really long time, but the game plan was to blame it on extraterrestrials that doesn't exist. Travis Taylor, yeah. Yeah, he is. Kirkpatrick is a freaking American hero. Thank God for Sean Kirkpatrick in this AARO report.
looking everywhere. AARO states they found no aliens, no alien technology, and no alien bodies. The unclassified report states these whistleblowers had mostly become convinced that aliens were real because of unfounded or false stories, or in some cases, they misinterpreted real human-made technology for alien technology.
That is the kicker. That's the kicker right there. That's what I believe 95% of this stuff is. And it's going to prove it here in the rest of this video. Marissa, if aliens were real, then we would all have seen them by now. That's right. Why is there no physical evidence? Why do we not have any physical evidence of extraterrestrials? No one can supply it because it doesn't exist. Unbelievable.
After the report was released, I interviewed Sean Kirkpatrick about AARO's findings. Kirkpatrick says many of these UFO whistleblowers are true religious believers who are unfazed by facts and evidence to the contrary.
That interview was really good, by the way. I highly recommend people to check out Mick West's interview with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I believe that we played clips of that also with Ryan Gable as well on a past show somewhere.
Despite the conclusive AARO report, which debunks many of their claims, this religious group of whistleblowers and activists went on to convince sympathetic members of Congress to continue spending taxpayer resources to look for the aliens that AARO says don't exist. So, what's going on here? Why do some members of Congress continue to spend taxpayer resources on these claims? Well, as it turns out, some of these whistleblowers probably did witness something real, but they were intentionally deceived. What the public really hasn't heard yet is that there were several key details kept out of the AARO report, secrets that the military did not want the public to know. Well, now, those secrets are coming out. A bombshell Wall Street Journal investigation reveals that when AARO went looking for the original source of these UFO stories about the government hiding aliens, they discovered that, in many instances, the source was the government itself.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Not like I've been saying it for 2+ years now. That's not a UFO, it's our military. That's right. And it just happens to be a lot of these cases happen over military bases. Okay, it just so happens that people are seeing these crafts over or near or around military bases. But that's just a coincidence. Couldn't be the military, could it?
Creating fake UFO images and fake UFO programs.
Because we were saying, how did this myth get started? Well, maybe it was something that was used by the government to kind of conceal what we were really doing.
I interviewed Tim Phillips, who, as I previously mentioned, was the deputy director and at one point the acting director of AARO. Phillips recently left AARO and spoke to me on the record. He says in the classified version of the AARO report is the discovery that the U.S. government was sometimes the source, creator, and UFO stories. For example, some of the UFO whistleblowers who claim the government has a secret alien UFO program had actually been exposed to a fake program that was a prank to haze new Air Force personnel.
I don't think this has gone public yet, but there were some embarrassing things that we discovered. And we had a lot of people, high-ranking people, very, very concerned and very sensitive that it could just bring discredit upon their agency or their service.
How so?
So,
What do you mean embarrassing? How?
well, as you know, there was a false UAP program. It was an incident that started out in the Air Force. It was an anti-gravity motor that was developed from alien crash retrieval. It was hazing. It was a joke. It wasn't real.
AARO discovered that
What? Oh, they've gone as far as to not only spread mis and disinformation about UFOs, supplying people in the community fake documents about UFOs, famously given to several people in the community in the 80s. But they also have gone as far as to create fake UFO governmental programs and put out fake UFO photos and videos. Man, they really do not want people to know that this is advanced military technology. They would rather people just believe that these are extraterrestrial crafts because there's nothing that anybody can do about extraterrestrials because extraterrestrials are so advanced, right? Can't do anything about the aliens. But if everybody knew that it was the military, then you could do something about the military. That's the other layer of this.
for decades, the U.S. Air Force had a bizarre hazing ritual. When new people were brought in to manage top-secret Air Force offices, they were first given a presentation about a secret program that dealt with UFOs.
This is the fake document stuff, but this is a different type of fake document. Richard Doty was responsible for giving many people in ufological circles in the 80s fake UFO documents. Most famously, Linda Moulton Howe. You can see that in the documentary on YouTube called Mirage Men. Really, all you got to do is watch the documentary Mirage Men, and you'll understand all this stuff. It was free on YouTube back a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still free, but if it is still free, it is a incredible watch, and I highly recommend watching it.
And they were shown images of what the presenters claimed was alien technology.
You would have been knocked your socks off to look at the alien space and the craft, and the way they did it was a Hollywood produced stuff. It was great.
But AARO discovered that the images in the whole program was fake, a prank, and part of a hazing ritual.
What happened is for decades, you probably had thousands of officers who never knew that was a fake SAP, and it got out into the wild, and you had a general.
Look at the smile on Mick West's face right here. I got that same smile on my face. Finally, holy shit, finally.
of officers that were briefed into this UFO exploitation program and didn't know it was just a joke or hazing.
Philip says he interviewed many of these officers who had never been told that what they saw was fake. Some of them still remain scared to death.
I'll tell you, from talking to some of the witnesses, there was real fear, that
This is the exact same type of thing that Richard Doty did. The same thing that happened in the 80s that then convinced Rick Doty that aliens were real. So Rick Doty did all of this mis and disinformation on the community to get the community to believe that extraterrestrials were real, all the while knowing that they weren't real. And then he gets a document from the government, probably showing him this exact file that Tim Phillips here is talking about. That probably convinced Doty that it actually all was real. And that's what he goes out and campaigns on now. He's like, remember all that stuff that I told you that was made up and fake before? Well, it's actually real. They did that exact same thing to Doty.
what they saw or observed, they would be harmed if they shared that with us.
That's right, Loretta. That's right. What they all fail to realize is that all the aliens are in LA. Illegal aliens, extraterrestrial aliens, alien aliens. Sounds like word magic to me.
They were scared to death and paranoid about, and we're just trying to understand the truth. And these people had sincere beliefs that there was some covert black cop, that if they revealed the truth about aliens, then someone's going to go out there and eliminate them.
Which is exactly what happened to Paul Benowitz. He got so paranoid from the NSA breaking into his home, replacing his computer, setting up across the street, beaming signals into his radio antenna on top of his house, so that he was so convinced that he was talking to aliens through his computer that it drove him crazy, and he eventually had to be institutionalized. He became so ridiculously paranoid that he had to wrap his windows and his car in aluminum foil.
These
And
witnesses,
that was real.
these witnesses are coming to you in their heart of hearts convinced that they've seen something alien, and in their heart of hearts convinced truly that they were risking their lives talking to you guys.
Some individuals, yes.
Philip says he had to take this damning discovery to the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines.
And she said, Tim, he says, could this, fake sap be the basis for this persistent urban myth that the government has recovered and reverse engineered alien technology? She said, have you done a damage assessment? How many people believe that to be true? And I said, ma'am, I don't know, but
I would say thousands of people believe that to be true, even hundreds of thousands of people.
estimate thousands.
Yep.
After
There it
Philip
is.
sounded the alarm, the Pentagon ordered the Air Force to shut down this bizarre hazing ritual in 2023. AARO wanted to include this shocking discovery in their public.
They never thought for 1 second that creating a fake special access program and giving these soldiers and these people that are involved in the military these fake documents showing fake photos of alien craft, that some of them would believe it on purpose. There's no way that you do that and think that people are not going to believe it. Unbelievable.
Public report, but the Air Force requested that they hold off. It was ultimately not included. A Pentagon spokesperson acknowledged that, quote, AARO had uncovered evidence of fake classified program materials relating to extraterrestrials, and stated this information would be included in AARO's next public report. But these pranked and hazed Air Force officials weren't the only victims of fake UFO images produced and promoted by the government. U.S. citizens were also targeted with government UFO disinformation.
Boom. Right there it is.
The government created fake UFO images to trick the public into thinking what they were seeing in the sky was alien and not actually their top secret aircraft.
I don't think this has gone.
Thank God for Mick West. Man, what a godsend. What a godsend.
Public yet, but there was a lot of misbehavior by our government early on. We built these UFO cover stories to protect what we were really doing.
For example, Phillips says AARO found that the military at Area 51 created UFO images that were then leaked to UFO believers in the public.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't think you guys realize how big of a deal this is. How big of a deal this is. This turns everything on its head. All of it.
For the purpose of muddying the waters and concealing non-alien top-secret aircraft at Area 51.
I was present in the SCIF when we had a retired Air Force flag officer who worked out at Area 51, was asked by Force Protection to provide a portfolio of photos of traditional alien UFOs.
Chloe, because they want them to believe it's a part of the mis and disinformation operation. They wanted them to believe so that they can continue with their top secret advanced black budget experimental technology. And so that other countries didn't realize that it was our technology, so that they would also be caught up in the mis and disinformation on extraterrestrials. Goes so deep, folks.
Operating, being filmed at Area 51, and he delivered them to one of the UFO bars outside the gate out on the east side.
Because tourists were often going to Area 51 to look for UFOs, the U.S. Air Force planted fake alien spaceship photos at various tourist locations outside the base. They wanted people to think what they saw above Area 51 was alien and not the real top secret project that was being tested.
We actually did that. Many years ago, our government did that.
But not all military UFO whistleblowers claim to have just seen photos or videos of UFOs.
It's not new news, Chad, but because I've been talking about it for 2 years. I've been talking about this for a really long time. It's not new that the government has been making up the whole alien phenomenon. But people really haven't believed it because they're so convinced that aliens and extraterrestrials exist because of the mis and disinformation directly from the government on the topic.
Some of the military officials interviewed by AARO claimed they actually saw alien spacecraft with their own eyes at top-secret military bases.
What we discovered is often these people were not read into the programs. They had secondhand knowledge, or they were lawfully present at a test site. The guy was a forklift operator. He looks off and he sees something amazing. And based off their education, their life experience and their personal beliefs, you see that amazing demonstration of a new technology. And depending on your background, you could make the assumption that it wasn't invented by humans.
That is the basis of the entire Roswell incident. The people that saw this craft had no idea what it was, so they thought, "Oh, it's aliens. It's got to be aliens," because they weren't read into the advanced aerospace experimental technology. They had no idea what it was. So if they'd never seen it before, then how were they supposed to know that it was man-made? Because they weren't read into the special access program that was developing these technologies.
Phillips says the descriptions of alien craft from multiple military witnesses ended up matching top-secret human-made aircraft being tested by the military.
Their descriptions were amazing. They were right on. And then when we would go back to the historical archive or get the test director and look at the video or read the report, it was amazing. And I understand why they would leap to those conclusions. But those technologies and amazing capabilities were designed by Americans and built, manufactured, and flown by Americans.
Phillips says he was able to go to Area 51 and witness these top-secret aircraft himself, after concerns that the secret of their existence had leaked to the public.
We thought there was a compromise of one of our national security programs, a sixth-generation aircraft. And this very, very senior senator says, "Look, I want you to research this. This really concerns me." And he had asked me if I had been out to Nevada, to the Nevada test site. So we went through, I got read into the Air Force SAPs dealing with new advanced spacecraft and aircraft, went out there, and some of these things we have, if a guy off the street got out there and saw these things fly or touched one in a hangar, my God, they look like Klingon death ships. Absolutely amazing.
And you're saying that sums up a lot of what these whistleblowers have actually seen. Right?
Exactly.
But there are still mysteries out there. A small number of UFO cases remain unsolved and very strange. Phillips is concerned about these cases, since many of them occur over sensitive U.S. military locations.
If it's on, around, or near a military base, it's the freaking military. Doesn't take rocket science to figure it out.
Small percentage of those cases, probably less than 40, we don't know what it is. We can measure it. We know it's there. It shouldn't be there. And we want to know what it is.
Well,
and
Tim,
we're taking every step to understand that phenomenon.
Well, Tim, maybe it's aliens.
Who know? Well, again, until we have evidence, I'm not going to go there. There are, there's some phenomena out there that we just don't understand. Especially, have you heard of the fiery orbs?
Oh, yeah.
That when we start seeing like a corona or a discharge, a plasma discharge, and when we've had some of these really, really strange.
There we go. There's the plasma stuff. We're getting into the plasma things here, plasmonoids.
Events. From the reports of the security personnel on site, these devices they're attempting to conceal themselves. In one case, when a truck from main side was coming out onto the range, this device stopped, hovered, went off the road, and turned its friggin' lights off. Now, to me, that tells me there's a human in the loop or on the loop, because if it was an alien that could care less, that's not what happened. Okay. Now, there's some strange stuff going on there.
Out of all the cases you saw and observed, what was the one that confused you the most and still confuses you, that you're just not sure what the heck? Is it the plasma ball? What was it that's something that struck you as particularly strange?
This will be interesting. I want to know what he thinks.
The black triangles.
Seriously?
The black triangles, yeah.
Black triangles are a common description of reported UFOs.
It's the TR-3B military craft.
Within the UFO community, there are many popular stories about spooky black triangles performing in paranormal ways. In fact, I myself saw a black triangle UFO in 2003, and it was pretty impressive. And obviously, the military has their own flying black triangles that, at one point, they tried to keep secret. But Philip says the black triangles he saw concerned him. He thinks they could be high-tech aircraft being flown by a foreign adversary.
There we go. More military stuff.
There were some reports from credible people where they saw something and they saw a flying vehicle, triangular in shape. Just good performance coming off it. Not a huge acoustic sound. Not a lot of heat picking up. They can pick off their flares. I want to know what it is because I think it's an adversary, capability. I think it comes from this world, not aliens. And when we got reports of the black triangles, that's something that really pricks my ears, and I want to know more.
With these black triangles, though, on your end, are you looking at them? Are you looking at photos, videos, or are you just reading a report?
All of the above.
Seriously?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Yeah, there are things that we, like I said, there's a small percentage of the cases that we have unusual, flight characteristics and performance or anomalies that we don't understand. And that's where you have that this potentially disruptive technology or emerging technology that we need to understand. There are some spooky things and places they shouldn't be with performance characteristics that we couldn't duplicate today. So what is it? I don't know what it is, but we're going to find out.
Wow. Well, I don't know what's scarier, if it's China or it's Martians,
So there it was, folks. There it was. I'm really happy with that. I feel validated. I feel vindicated, and all the hate that came my way for essentially saying the exact same thing that Tim Phillips and Mick West just said in that New York Post video and article. I feel great because I felt that like I was alone on an island. Okay. Felt like that I was out there telling people the truth, but no one wanted to listen to the truth, which is okay. Like, that's fine. Whatever. I mean, I just kind of let it roll off my back, but it's just really nice to finally kind of get a win. I look at this as a win because it's not that difficult. And then when you couple this in with what they were saying, that the military was supplying fake documents and fake photos to their personnel to get them to believe that extraterrestrials existed. Okay, and then they were giving documents and photos and staging UFO crashes outside of Area 51 to also get people to believe in extraterrestrials and the extraterrestrial hypothesis. When you couple all that stuff together, you have a recipe for belief and psychosis. And that belief is so strong with people that anything that contradicts it or runs against it, they automatically rebut against. And then they call you all kinds of names. Chloe, you're right. Easier to convince someone of a lie than to convince them that they've been lied to. That no truer words have ever been spoken, Chloe. No truer words. Dana D, thank you very much. You should hold your head high, Ryder. The Mockingbird media is a tense drug that prevents people from actually to think and ask questions. Thank you, Dana. Really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been like it's been like a rough road, and I kind of took a step back from it for a little bit. You know, I would mention it here and there every once in a while, but you know, I stopped going so heavily and hard into it because I just was getting all of this backlash toward it, like emails, Instagram personal messages, Facebook personal messages, like comments saying like horrendous things, and it was making me very discouraged for a long time. And then when I was laying in bed scrolling through Twitter last night, I seen this and I was like, "Oh my god, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much," because whenever I talk about this in the future and people don't believe me, I'm going to send them this freaking article. And I'm going to tell them to watch this video. And I'm going to drop it in the chat one more time here, so you guys can have it as well. And also, I recommend that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick interview that Mick West did with him around a year ago, I believe it was. But it's also on the New York Post YouTube page that you can find. Just type in Sean Kirkpatrick interview with Mick West. I'm going to try and get Mick West on the show to talk about this stuff. I had reached out to him previously and he respectfully declined, but I reached out to him again after I read this article, and hopefully I'll be able to get him on to talk about this stuff because I believe it's very important. And this is the ultimate UFO cover up psyop that is finally coming to light. And I couldn't be more happy, couldn't be more ecstatic and smiling. You see Mick West's big giant smile because he's been talking about this stuff for a really long time too. Mick West has been delving into this stuff for years and years and years, talking about this stuff. So whenever he was talking to Tim Phillips there, he had this giant smile because it's what it's what the critical thinkers and the people that have really delved into this and the common sense people have already suspected for a really long time. So whenever there's confirmation for it, we just get really giddy. And I was so giddy last night when I seen this. I was just smiled from ear to ear. But that's what it is. That's what all of this is. It's a psyop on many levels. It's to control your perception of reality, make you believe one thing when it's something completely different. They're using word magic. They're using mis and disinformation to intentionally deceive the public as to exactly what's going on. And when you go back and just go listen to the Legends of Ufology playlist that I have on there, if you haven't listened to it yet, it gives you a complete breakdown of like all this stuff. And even with William Moore, which the Roswell incident became really popular after William Moore's book came out called The Roswell Incident in 1980. No one gave a shit about the Roswell UFO until that book came out, just like no one talked about gray aliens until Whitley Strieber's book came out, Communion. Just like no one had related missing time or screened memories to alien abduction until Bud Hopkins' book came out, Missing Time. They're egregores. Okay, they're all egregores. You get enough people to believe into this, it takes on a life of its own. It creates its own reality. You put something out that seems very plausible to people, then people will then run with it, and then they'll probably experience it at some point in their life because they believe it. They believe it to be true, and then dozens and hundreds of people, after Bud Hopkins' book comes out about missing time, oh, I think I had missing time too. I think that I was abducted by aliens. I need to get a regression and figure out if I was abducted by aliens. That's not how regressions work. Regressions are a therapeutic process. They've been used by therapists to help people quit addictions, quit certain things. Regressions were never supposed to be used to figure out if you had been abducted by freaking aliens or not. That was never the intention of a regression. But yet people became so convinced by these people's books and then all of the mis and disinformation directly from the government, like the NSA, like Air Force Office Special Investigations, AFOSI, the government blatantly giving people fake documents about the mythology of extraterrestrials, fake photos, posting fake photos. This brings into question literally everything. All of it. This article and this video blows the lid off the entire subject. Everything that's ever been released. Which McWest has done a really great job of, breaking down any new UFO photo that is, or video that's been supposedly released. I mean, Lou Elizondo, okay, the UFO whistleblower, someone leaked, balloons, yay, celebration, boom, boom, boom. Someone leaked a photo that he had sent to somebody, which was Lou Elizondo was claiming was of alien bodies when they were just aborted fetuses. I don't want to show it because I 100% believe that they are aborted, disfigured fetuses. But Lou Elizondo believed that they were real photos of alien bodies. This just happened the other day. It was all over Twitter. Lou Elizondo leaks photos of alien bodies when they're clearly just aborted fetuses. They're all disinformationalists, misinformationalists, and the people that continue to prop up this extraterrestrial narrative are a part of the problem. They keep doubling down on all of it. The Jeremy Corbells, the George Knapps, the David Grush, the Lou Elizondos. Because if the truth comes out, guess what? The mystery is over. Which I believe that I already solved the mystery 2 years ago. I already solved it, and this just confirms it. But if the truth comes out, these people no longer have... It's like what Ryan Gable was saying in the short video that I made. It was like, if we really get disclosure, which we have, the disclosure is that it's not aliens, it's not extraterrestrials. It's the freaking military. Okay, and that ruins all of these people's careers because they've created and cultivated their entire personality and their entire presence in their online sphere, and their money-making capabilities is connected to UFOs and aliens. And when it comes out that it's all made up, nonsensical garbage perpetrated by the government, then they no longer have a career. They turn into nobodies. They're a bunch of no one. Stephen Greer included. Okay, so that was my show for today. Thank you guys all for being here. Really appreciate it. Loretta, good to see you. Craig, good to see you. Marissa, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Nance, good to see you. Yeah, Craig, the ET people are the problem because they are the ones that are propping up the fake nonsense garbage. They're the ones that have continued to circular report the same made up nonsense garbage that is proven fake nonsense garbage from the government. Dana, good to see you. Sam, brother, what's cracking? Well, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button to help the channel and the algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications. The links to all of my information are in the description of this video. And check out my documentary on Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, and on Tubi. The links are also in the description. I'm currently working on my next documentary that's going to be on the psychic spy, remote viewing, DIA, Army intelligence, Stargate program. So be looking forward to that. And thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.